Welcome to Food and Facilities, an online show for West Coast Industrial Solutions magazine. Our goal is to cultivate knowledge to feed the world by focusing our quarterly trade issues on safety, compliance, and innovation within manufacturing, agriculture, food processing, and food and beverage industries. This episode, we speak with Western Institute of Food Safety and Security, along with UC Davis's School of Veterinary Medicine, about their innovating dairy digester research and what that could mean for the future of energy production. Welcome to Food and Facilities. I'm Tara Sweeney. I'll be your host today. Thank you for giving me a chance to put on some makeup and feel a little less alone during isolation. Make sure to subscribe to West Coast Industrial Solutions magazine for content like we will be discussing today. Go to WCISmag.com/subscribe for all the information on manufacturing, food and beverage, food processing, and agricultural safety and compliance and innovation. We will be hosting a expo in September with the current situation allowing, and right now we are having a promotion where you can get a discount on your booth price and get free advertising in our July to September quarterly. If you're interested in exhibiting and reaching out to all aspects of agribusiness, manufacturing, food processing, food and beverage, and agriculture, make sure to go to WCISmag.com/Expo 2020. And if you want to save on your booth, let me know and I will give you the discount code. We also have other advertisements in our magazine, and if you join us as an advertiser, you can also get a spot on our show and our social media channels. We have a back page, a full page interior, a half page, a quarter page, a business card size, and a listing. Contact us today and go to WCISmag.com/advertise. Today I will be discussing the following topics: dairy digester research with Western Institute of Food Safety and Security and UC Davis's Veterinary Medicine. Here's innovating dairy digester research with WIF and UC Davis. And here's a video explaining what WIFs does.
People everywhere deserve to eat safe food and live on a healthy planet. But today, food is the cause of 600 million illnesses each year, 420,000 deaths, 125 of which are children. Safer food and a healthier planet starts with educating people. WIFS at UC Davis is committed to teaching people about global food safety from the soil to the table. We educate about the link between people, animals, and the environment. This is the philosophy of One Health. Our curriculum empowers individuals and teams with the knowledge to take action. We already hold successful conferences for U.S. government officials, Chinese faculty and students, and local farmers throughout California. Our team of acclaimed researchers and scientists study issues in food safety, from agricultural water quality to plant soil contamination, conducting experiments and publishing their findings regularly. We offer interactive online courses and in-class training, working with researchers and professionals on topics such as on-farm food safety, animal welfare, and disaster preparedness. We also provide a la carte services, working with clients to provide professional promotional videos, marketing materials, and customized websites. Nowhere else will you find such a unique framework that empowers people to affect change. Here at WIFS, we believe in educating people, because people change the world.
Welcome back to Food and Facilities. That was the introduction video to let you know a little more about WIFS, Western Institute for Food Safety and Security. And I have guests Chris Brunner and Heather Johnson with me today from WIS, and they're going to be talking about what they do. Hi, Chris.
Hi, hello. Hi, Tara.
Morning.
Good morning.
All right, shall we get started?
Sure, go ahead and
All right.
explain a little bit
Well,
about
thank you
WIS.
so much for having us on your program this morning and giving us a chance to talk about the work that we do at the Western Institute for Food Safety and Security. So as everyone can see from our video that just showed, kind of gives a little snippet of what WIFS is all about and the important work we do. So let me just share a quick my screen. Well, before I do that, just to kind of give a little background about WIFS and how we operate. So we are jointly administrated between the School of Veterinary Medicine at UC Davis and the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, two entities that are number one in their field in the United States. And having a joint partnership between those two important schools makes a lot of sense for food safety, because when you think about where our food comes from before it gets to the grocery store, it's either coming from a plant or from an animal. So the College of Ag connects us with scientists that do work from the soil to water to plant health. And then when you look at the School of Veterinary Medicine, you can see where those people would come into play when it comes to taking care of animal health and also the study of epidemiology and disease spread. So WIFS, partnering between those two entities, is set in a perfect position to respond and to help research and educate about all things related to food safety, from the farm all the way through to the table. So let me share my screen here really quick. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you want to enable my screen sharing real quick. I can share a couple slides. Well, if not, it's okay. I can sort of talk about things without the slides. But WIFS has sort of three major facets to it. So we do research, outreach, and training. So we actually have a research facility on campus, and there are veterinarians, laboratory scientists, staff researchers, graduate students, all working on projects related to food quality, food safety, looking a lot at water testing and safety, and pretty much microbial food safety issues. Our current interim director is Dr. Michelle J. Russell. Her work focuses a lot on pathogen survival in the environment. So using biological soil amendments like compost and manure, and how to keep that material that could be risky off the food. So in the end, our goal is to keep the poop off the food, because that is the way to keep it safe. And then just preceding her, our former director, Dr. Rob Atwell, looked a lot at water quality safety, also kind of focusing on microbes. So that's the research side of WIFS. Now, Chris and I, we work on the outreach and training side. So that part of WIFS is really focused on getting that information that comes from the laboratory, packaging it in a way that's understandable and clear, and using it to train lots of different audiences. So if we don't get it out of the university and into the real world, it doesn't really have that much of an impact. And our current director, the director of outreach, Dr. Benny Osborne, really he's the Dean Emeritus of the School of Veterinary Medicine, and is very passionate about education and training and bringing people together to look at really highly complex problems. And if you're not real familiar with food systems, which honestly I wasn't until I started working at WIFS, it is extremely complicated. There are so many moving pieces, so many areas of vulnerability and risk. And it really takes a huge team of experts coming together to, first of all, understand problems that may arise, and then to work as a team to try and formulate solutions to those problems. So our work in outreach is just so critical to bringing people together to talk about those problems. So my background is in education. I was a teacher for a number of years. Then I got a degree from UC Davis in microbiology, so teaching and science. But I also work with graphic designers, web developers, curriculum designers and developers, like Chris, who has a passion and a background in communication, so social media. All of these things come together on the outreach side to get the message out from the university to the people and to the farmers where it makes a difference. So our audiences do include people like the farmers of California, work with dairies. We also work with produce farmers. We do a lot of work with all different facets of agriculture. Let's see.
Thank you for sharing, Heather. You should be able to share your screen now. I adjusted the settings.
Thank you. Let's see.
Do you want to share your screen, Heather, or?
Yeah, can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the little graphic that shows our 3 branches. Let me move to the next slide here. And there we go. So again, just kind of this slide kind of demonstrates how important it is to bring people together from all different corners of the university, and also just all different universities in general. So we work a lot with students and faculty from all around the world, and Chris is going to talk a lot about that in a second. But we also work with government agencies and those people who are out in the world enforcing food safety regulations, but also helping support farmers. And we work a lot with industry and supporting them as well. So with that, I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen and kind of pass the ball over to Chris, because she's going to talk about some important stuff.
Okay. And hello, everyone. I'm going to talk about our One Health initiatives at WCIS. And I'm going to share my screen now. Let's see. All right. There we go. Yay, I did it. We at WCIS, we focus our One Health on the global food systems, like Heather was talking about. And so we feel that when the problems that are affecting the food system are addressed through One Health, then there's health for all. And this is the One Health triad. What the triad involves people, animals, and the environment. And a One Health approach is a comprehensive, multidisciplinary, global, collaborative, and a holistic approach to solving a big, complex problem that has to do with the health of people, animals, and the environment at the interface of those 3 things. Okay. The One Health WCIS is in collaboration with Nanjing Agricultural University, Waganan Research University, and Massey, and we're working on antibiotic resistance and epidemiological approaches to diseases. And some of the things that we're working on, you've heard of African swine fever, decimating 40% of the population of China. Just one example. This is a meeting that was in Waganan for the first collaborative meeting between Waganan NAU and Massey University. We are in our 6th year of conducting One Health conferences for faculty and students throughout all of China, because we really feel that to improve the food system, we're trying to educate about a One Health approach. And we start, we plant a seed with the faculty and teachers who will train the trainers who will go out and make the food safe. And the students attending the conference will go on to collaborate with each other and use a One Health approach to solve all kinds of problems. Our conferences have a 3-fold mission. They are, we raise awareness, we do team building, and we have a call to action. Our raising awareness involves lectures and field trips. And the photos at the bottom here show our visit this winter to the Van Beek Dairy, and Dr. Pandy is going to talk more about that later, but I just wanted to show you those photos of our visit there. The students explore methods in problem solving in addressing real world problems. And for example, E. coli and how it gets into the plants or the food system, Salmonella, Cryptosporidium, greenhouse gases, marine pollution, all kinds of things. When they come to the conference, we divide them up, and the students are from different colleges at NAU, and they've never met each other. And they include, they're from environmental sciences, veterinary science, food science, plant science, engineering, horticulture, agro-grassland science. And they form teams, and they go through team building exercises led by Heather and some other subject matter experts. And through the team building exercises, they learn about taking a multidisciplinary approach. And at the beginning of the conference, they identify a problem that they want to work on. And it could be a food system problem, or it could be something that they're really, really passionate about, like air pollution or greenhouse gases, just a multitude of things. As a team, they identify the problem, and then they figure out solutions. On the last day of the conference, they give amazing presentations where they have solved the problem using a One Health approach, and they have a call to action. And they go back and they share the information with their colleagues and try and think of ways to resolve the problem. And one of the things that's really great is in 2015, the very first conference, there were 2 young men that went back to China, and they formed a One Health Club. And it started out with just 2 people, and now it's up to 60. The One Health Club meets together, and they work really hard to address environmental problems. And each year, after the students go back, the One Health Club members and the students that have been to the conference have a lunchtime challenge. And the lunchtime challenge involves up to 16 or more lunchtimes when they meet together, and they continue working on the problem they've identified in Davis. And one year in 2018, and Heather was the team captain. She was the facilitator for they were called the Return of the King. And they went back and they decided, we're going to have a war on plastics. And they held a lecture that had over 100 people come to the lecture. They had an exhibition out on the street, and they had over 500 people come and sign the banner committing themselves to separate their plastics and their paper, and really commit to working really hard on the problem of plastics. They wrote a letter to the mayor. And if you'll remember, in the video that we showed at the beginning, the last slide showed some students holding up a banner. And the voiceover said, "Here at WIFS, we believe in educating people because people change the world." And we do believe that. And we feel very strongly that, and pleased that the faculty that come to our conferences go back and they they've learned to train their students to teach them about One Health. And Heather and other people help train the teachers on different styles of teaching so that they can better get the word out to their students. And I want to close with two quotes from two of the students that have been here that show the impact that we've had. One student said, "Through the One Health experience, I learned to solve difficult academic problems with people from different scientific fields. I learned to cooperate with other professional students in my future study. The program made me love science and scientific research. I want to use my power to create a better world." And Heather, would you like to add anything about working with the faculty and the students, some of the team building or some of the things that we've talked?
I think just to kind of reiterate what you said is that there's such power in when you bring people together. And I've been really impressed with working with all the different teams that we've brought together, that there's so much knowledge contained in each individual. And when we allow them the opportunity and the place where they can work together, it's kind of a corporate term, but there's synergy there. Like, you go so much further when you work as a team and when you bring different perspectives from different disciplines into the same problem solving area. It's just really, really powerful. So that's all I'd add.
Right. And I would like to add that last night, Dr. Osborne, who is the Director of Outreach and our supervisor, he is loved by the students. He's Uncle Benny. And last night, Uncle Benny and I were on the phone for 2 hours with the current Lunchtime Challenge group, who have amazing presentations. They're halfway through. It was a midterm report, and it was very moving. They really grasp One Health, and they are going to change the world. So back to you, Tara.
Can you stop sharing your screen real quick?
Oh, yes.
And how are we doing on time, Tara?
It's 11:40, so we probably should segue into Dr. Pandy's research and start the video that you guys helped produce.
Sounds good.
California leads the nation in agricultural production, producing nearly all of the nation's leafy green vegetables, many types of nuts and fruits, and is ranked first in dairy production. What that means is that California also produces a lot of agricultural waste materials, including lots of manure. In fact, 60 million tons each year. Extension-based researchers like Dr. Pramod Pandey at UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine are investigating innovative purposes for all this manure and helping farmers put it to good use. As a faculty member and cooperative extension specialist, he investigates how bacteria that live in manure and prefer a low oxygen environment perform the useful task of converting manure into a renewable fuel source and nutrients for crops. By simply creating a low oxygen environment, we can change all that manure waste into something that is safe and usable. California currently gets over 27% of its energy from renewable resources, like solar, wind, and hydroelectric. Our goal is 50% renewable energy by the year 2030, and 100% by 2045. In fact, California currently invests $1.4 billion into renewable energy and $69 million into dairy digester research and development annually. We are taking steps towards this goal by building a network of dairy digesters, which use bacteria to break down dairy manure and convert it into biogas. Dairy digesters are specially designed, low-oxygen chambers that contain manure with anaerobic bacteria. This innovative use of the natural processes happening inside generates biogas, which is a valuable renewable fuel. Biogas is mostly made up of methane, which is a very potent greenhouse gas if released into the environment. Capturing and using biogas as a fuel reduces methane emissions, effectively minimizing the carbon footprint of agriculture in California. An added bonus is that the digested manure is a nutrient-rich and inexpensive organic fertilizer that can be used to grow the various crops that make our state famous. The process inside the dairy digester helps reduce the number of harmful bacteria found in manure, making it much safer for use on plants grown for food. When we think about where agriculture has been and where it is going, innovation, efficiency, and environmental sustainability are all hallmarks of our approach in California. People like Dr. Pandey are driving forward research and technology to minimize the impact of agriculture production on the environment. His work improves the economic well-being of farmers and benefits Californians by providing safe, healthy, and nutritious food. While the importance of California's agriculture might be significant, its footprint on the environment doesn't have to be. And it is researchers like Dr. Pramod Pandey who are ensuring that our state leads in discovery and innovation for many harvests to come. At UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine Cooperative Extension, we help bring science to the citizens of California.
That was the video that Western Institute for Food Safety and Security helped develop to help promote Dr. Pandey's research on the dairy digester. And we have Dr. Pramod Pandey here with us today to discuss that a little more.
Thank you,
Dr.
Tara.
Pandey?
Thank you. So, thank you, Chris and Heather, for a little bit bringing the issue of renewable energy, greenhouse gas emissions, and manure management. So today I will talk a little bit in brief about renewable energy, greenhouse gas reduction, and manure management. But before going to manure management, I will touch the topic of renewable energy and are you able to share the screen, Tara?
Yes.
Yeah. So I will talk about the renewable energy, then greenhouse gas emissions, and manure management. Based on the California Energy Commission's report, California is leading the nation toward a 100% clean future and addressing the issue related with climate change. If you look right side, actually, these are the Senate bills, various Senate bills in 2002, 2011, and 2015, and that provided a goal and also a set of target. So in 2002, we passed SB 1078, and that sets the goal, renewable target 20% by 2017. Then 2011, we have SB 21X, which sets the target, renewable target 33% by 2020. And then we have SB 350 in 2015, and that sets the goal for 50% by 2030. And in 2018, we have SB 100, and that sets the California on a path to 100% renewable energy by 2045. And these are not just hypothetical goals. Majority of the goals we are already achieving, or we are achieving more than the goals which was set before. So we have a long journey. By 2045, the goal is the 100% clean, zero carbon renewable energy. The first large solar farm was built in about 1989 in Mojave Desert. And right now we have already got about 33% of renewable energy through different sources. So these are here various renewable sources. So this data is from 2018, but it's a representative data. So we have about 46% of energy is coming, electrical energy is coming from natural gas, and followed by large hydro plants, about 11%. If you look the contribution from renewable energy here, so we have biomass, geothermal, small hydro, and solar plant, wind energy. So solar plants right now, they are contributing about 14%, followed by wind energy about 7%, and then geothermal 5.92%. So in 2018, basically we got about 33% of energy from renewable sources. And if you look back, the goal was that in 2020, we should meet the target of 33%. So we are already meeting these targets. Now, before going to manure management, SB 350, I will talk because that's a very important CNET bill. What is about CNET Bill 350? So CNET Bill 350 was established in 2015, and that sets the goal for greenhouse gas reduction. And the target was that by 1990, we should reduce 40% greenhouse gas emission below the level of 1990 by 2030. And then 80% below 1990 levels by 2050. And what happened that in 2012, we have a California cap and trade programs, and that was a major policy to lower the GHG emissions. And that includes about 450 businesses responsible for about 85% of greenhouse gas emission. And those must comply with California cap and trade program. And whatever the revenue we are getting from California cap and trade program, it is going to California Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, basically GGRF. So all the money from California cap and trade program is going to GGRF. And California Department of Food and Agriculture, that is using GGRF fund, Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, to finance two types of manure management programs. And those manure management programs are known. One is a dairy digester research and development program, which you saw the video, and then there is alternative manure management program. And it's interesting that these two programs became very popular in California dairy farms, and most of the farms, they are trying, they have already got the funding from the California Department of Food and Agriculture to implement these two projects. If you look about the dairy farms distribution in California, so this is the left side is the map, which shows the density of the dairy cows in California. So if you look at this lesion, so about 27.4% of cattle we have in California, 15.4% are in Merced, 10.4% are in Kings County. To give you a scale idea, so San Bernardino County, it contributes about 2.5%, and it has 40,000 dairy cows. And Riverside 2.4%, and that has about 39,407. In the right side, if you will look, it shows, let's talk about in the Merced, two counties, Merced and Tulare counties. So in Merced County, basically the cattle population is 550,000. Beef cows are 26,000. Number of dairies are 237. So average number of cows per dairies are 1,127, and the human population are 255,000. So basically almost 2 times. Cattle population is 2 times than human population. If you go on Tulare counties, so the cattle population is about 1 million. Beef cows 25,500, and number of dairies are 285. The density of cows are quite a bit higher than Merced, so about 1,701 dairy cows, and human population is 442,000. So basically 2 times of the human populations is as the cattle population. Here, before going into further detail, I would like to explain a little bit how the manure is managed in California. So majority of the farm in California, dairy farm in California, they use the flush system. So this is the dairy barn where the cows are housed, and then they use the water to flush this manure. I'm talking about the left side of the diagram. Then this all flushed manure is stored in the manure pit that has the water and manure. And then manure is lifted from this manure pit into this kind of solid separator. And this solid separator, what it does, it separates the solid and liquid. Liquid goes further into these lagoon system, and the solid goes into this pile system. Now, if right side, you see, these are the lagoon size, these lagoons are deep, they are anaerobic. So if we don't have, let's assume this solid liquid separation, so all the solid and volatile solid biomass will come into these lagoons. These lagoons are 10 feet, 12 feet, 15 feet. And under anaerobic conditions, what happens that all these volatile solids, manure solids, it's get degraded, and that produce the greenhouse gas and biogas, basically biomethane. So CDFA, what they are trying to do is cover these lagoons, like in the next slide here. So once we cover these lagoons, all the biomethane produced in those lagoons are captured, and then this biogas or biomethane can be used for electric generation, or that can be also used as a direct fuel like gas. So dairy digester program basically encourages to use the CDFA grant to install these kind of dairy digester to capture the biomethane and utilize that biomethane. And the second program is alternative manure management. And that emphasizes basically that if let's say in a condition where the farmer does not have enough dairy cows, it's a small dairy farm, and he does not have enough capital to manage this dairy digester, then they can use alternative technology, for example, composting, solid liquid separator, and then they can dry that manure. And when you dry the manure, basically it reduces the moisture, and also it reduces the biological activities of the bacteria. And once you have a less moisture, less biological activities, means there will be less greenhouse gas emissions. So these two programs from CDFA are very successful, and they have done a lot of changes among the dairy farms and manure management in California. There are a series of digesters in Central Valley, especially in Tulare, Visalia, Merced areas. If you see, starting from Modesto to Bakersfield, about hundreds of these digesters are in the plan. Many already started, and others are going to start very soon. In terms of funding, if you see, so basically dairy digester program started in 2016, and the first year around 8 to 10 digesters were installed. Then in 2017, another program, alternative manure management, also came into picture. So dairy digester, they install about 18 to 20 dairy digester and 20 alternative manure management projects. Then in 2018, about 45 dairy digesters were installed, and about 42 projects were from alternative manure management program. And then we have 2019, about 50 projects are from alternative manure management, and then about same 45 is from dairy digester side. In terms of funding, so you see these are the funding, how year-wise funding went. So in 2016, about $8 million were to $10 million were invested on a dairy digester program. Then in 2017, about $40 million US for dairy digester program, and about $20 million for alternative manure management program. In 2018, we have about 80 million, close to $80 million money were given for dairy digester, and then about $45 million, about $35 million were given for alternative manure management program. And as well in 2019 also, we are actually $40 million were given for alternative manure management program, and about $70 million for a dairy digester program. What it means that this program is increasing year by year. A lot of funding has been given to dairy farmers, and they are implementing these dairy digester programs, alternative manure management program, to control the greenhouse gas emissions. So these two programs were basically quite successful, and I think the farmers, they are successfully able to improve their existing manure management to meet the goal of greenhouse gas reductions. So that's what I just want to say. Thank you. Thank you, Tara.
Thank you for sharing, Dr. Pandy. It's especially important when we have 4 cows to every person in California for a lot of counties, and especially since we're trying to meet those energy saving goals. And our next guest will be discussing how this type of research can be implemented into facilities also. So this is one of our sponsors. This is Protect Coatings. They can have antimicrobial, fast curing flooring systems and wall systems to help keep all of your facilities clean. Make sure to call them today at 559-323-8147. You can see the before they installed the flooring system and after, and how much cleaner and safer it is to have in your facility. Our next guest is Ronaldo Vasiliza, and he will be discussing how we can use these for facilities and how to make it a safer green energy option. And he works with FS3 Hodges. If you would like to get in contact with him, you can reach him at ronaldo@fs3h.com, and we will be working on getting him started shortly. Welcome back to Food and Facilities. I have my guest Ronaldo Vasiliza, and he's going to be discussing the dairy digester research and how similar technology can be used in facilities. Ronaldo?
Great, thank you so much for having me on. Taking a look at the bigger picture from outer space here, I'm actually stepping back a little bit to see where we started with all of this. And part of my, I'm an architect, by the way, and part of my background experience has been building facilities around the world. And among those things that I've discovered over the years are new technologies, new products, new ways to do things, particularly in areas that have little to enjoy as far as technology to improve their lives. So taking that knowledge from the United States, from Europe, and other leading countries around the world, architects build our environments and include those technologies as part of the environmental built system. Right now, I'm working in California, and have been working on schools and upgrading schools with solar energies, with high-tech educational tools. So I'm involved in a lot of different aspects. And over the years, I've learned quite a bit about recycling and waste management, again, as part of building new facilities and new towns. I'm going to share my screen here for a second. All right. So this presentation was made several years ago for Stanford University and for several other colleges that are involved with their group called Renew It. Anyway, I'll go through this quickly. It's a longer presentation, but it deals with basically architectural interest, modular water systems that I've dealt with every time we build facilities. We deal with water. We also deal with waste. And waste is something that is highly undesirable for people to deal with, but it's a necessary requirement of most development. So I'm talking about septic systems. I lived in Southern California when a lot of this work was done back in 2002 or 2003. And lately I've converted that information and knowledge to look at the Bay Area wastewater systems and how we process our waste. As you saw on farms, cattle living in close proximity create waste. If you've ever been on a cattle farm, you see the volume of waste that they produce by eating green vegetation and turning it into waste. So we'd like to be able to turn that waste back into something useful, something less polluting, and therefore recycle it into a potential energy source as well as a fertilizer source. But human waste has the same issue. We generate a lot of it. We process a lot of it in a very rudimentary form, and then we ship it out into the ocean or we dump it into our bay. So we have issues just like farms do. Our urban areas are just like those concentrated farm areas where we have lots of cattle processing waste. So some of these things all come together in a built environment. So, you know, we've evolved over the years. We've evolved in so many different ways, but yet we have not left this planet, and we are not doing anything about certain things that we need to. This is a funny example of that, but it's true, unfortunately. So we'd like to look at what we're doing with our human waste. Most of it is in rural areas, most of it is going into septic systems and into the groundwater. And we've been using that since the beginning of time to a large extent. And so we are now in the process of converting that into mechanized systems or mechanical systems to process waste more efficiently and recycle that water. So you've heard a great deal about recycling gray water. Well, we're getting to that point where we could recycle that water into drinking water and collect that waste and turn it into a fertilizer or a fuel. So things have evolved, but they're still in a very primitive level because most people don't want to deal with that issue. Most technologies are still relatively new, even though some of them have been around for 20 and 30 years. I started working on airports in the middle of the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Iran, where the airports were built outside of the major cities, and they were brand new facility in the middle of nowhere. And so you had to not only design the facility, but design it in a way that would accommodate both travelers, aircraft, fuel, as well as in new towns that created. This was way back in my early start as an architect. But one of the things we had to do was create treatment right on site because there was no place else to ship it to. You have to deal with it. And therefore, a solution that came up back in 1998, it seems a long time ago, but it's like yesterday, was this place called Water Garden. This is in Santa Monica. This was a facility that was built in 2 phases, and I was involved in building phase 2. And it was one of those facilities that had early use of waste treatment technology. All the waste from these buildings was being processed on site. The waste was treated to a tertiary level so that it actually was safe enough to use in these lakes in front of the buildings as a relief element of the urban jungle around it. And actually the water was recycled through the buildings for sewage, for toilets, for cooling towers. And it was a very successful project. But the technology that I learned all about was a membrane system that basically filtered water, pure water out of the system. And then that water could be treated back into a drinking water quality, which eventually was done in various places around the world, but not yet in California. And one of the things that California has is a very advanced community, but the sewage treatment folks, the health department folks didn't quite trust the system, so they didn't allow it to expand very rapidly. But the technology was very sophisticated, had been around for 20 and 30 years. A company out of Canada called Xenon developed this particular technology, and they were one of the most advanced in the world, and they would ship their technology for example, for the Army Corps of Engineers to places that were devastated by earthquakes or devastated by fires or wars, and therefore the systems could be put together in a series of containers that would then purify the sewage and turn it into both drinking water and other water, and the waste could then be converted into a usable sludge. This is the complex as you see in Santa Monica, very large community, they didn't have enough sewage capacity, and that's why the only reason they would allow this development was because the development could be totally self-sustaining. In fact, they had so much water recycled on site, 80 to 90%, that during rainstorms, they could run their sprinkler systems just to get rid of all the excess water that they were storing. And then as a result of that particular project, this is still in Santa Monica, the city approached us, the developers. I was working with a developer at the time, and the city was looking for a treatment plant that would capture some of the runoff running right then into the ocean. And they looked at the technology and they asked us to help fund another plant right here along the beach in Santa Monica, the Santa Monica Pier. And we helped them build the SMRF plant. It's called the Santa Monica Urban Runoff Reclamation Facility, SMRF. And it's still there today. You can go visit it. It's a highly sophisticated facility. Here's a site plan of what it does. And it processes basically 500,000 gallons a day of just urban runoff off your streets, off your lawns, and turns it back into the community to feed the high school, to feed the business park, the cemetery, places where the water could be recycled very efficiently. So that led me to another approach, which was looking at Malibu. If you look at the coast of Malibu, you see all these wealthy homes lining the coast on septic systems. And the coast is also inundated with all of the, I don't know if you can see my hand here, but all of these projects up here are on septic systems. So everything they produce in terms of waste goes into the ground. And when it rains, that ground gets saturated and then runs off down to the ocean. And so now all of these people and the visitors along Malibu coast are swimming in sewage. And the sewage is unfortunately unhealthy. You get infections from it. This is Malibu Creek, which is the main thoroughfare for most of that water coming through. And this is the most popular surfing beach. So you have the conflict of humanity and the conflict of waste coming together, and people getting sick, and therefore the state coming down on them and saying, you have to clean this up. As part of the Clean Water Act, you have to clean this up. So eventually they, despite local opposition, they eventually built a small plant right here that would process some of the waste coming downstream and repurpose it back into the ocean. The reason I bring all this up is again, technology is there. The city could not build a sewer treatment plant. Plants have to be in close proximity to the sources, but because of the nature of Malibu, you couldn't build a treatment plant anywhere that would have enough capacity to justify it. So we recommended that they build these small modular plants along the coast here. This is the colony, Malibu Colony, which is a very expensive property, but their septic systems are not working, and they haven't been working for years. And the reason they don't work is because salt water intrudes and saturates the ground, and there's no place for the waste to go, so it just goes back out into the ocean. So these are urban issues. We have it here too in the Bay Area, same kind of issues. The runoff from septic system goes into the ocean, and guess what? We have a great amount of pollution. We don't talk about it, but we should, because it's important to get it fixed. This is a shopping center that eventually built a treatment plant in this area to basically process all the waste from all of these buildings before it goes into the stream. But it took years of negotiations and discussion and legal issues. So the issues of technology are there. This is another project along the coast where I was asked to come in and for a design of a treatment system. This area right here in front of the beach was basically a septic system that was created by the community because when they built it, it had failed. So the state made them rebuild it. So they built it again along the ocean. And as you can see, the ocean, every once in a while, it goes right overboard, covers that area with water. Salt water kills any bacteria that would process the waste. So we came in and designed a solution that would basically it'd be inserted into this system and be able to process that waste. Here's another example of a small treatment plant that we designed, a very small building, basically 18 by 22, that will process the waste of about 44 homes in Malibu. This is the basic process. You have the liquid sewage coming in. It is screened to eliminate material, heavy material or metallic products or rocks or things like that. And then it goes through this aerobic process. You have a membrane module that basically sucks the water out, only the water, and that becomes the treated water. You can then reprocess it again one more time, and you can turn it into drinking water if you want it. So, for example, here's how it works. In this particular case, they had a filter that basically is so small, it has such small modules in it that only allows water to be sucked through it, and therefore leaving all the waste behind. So ultraviolet light then is applied to that water, which kills the bacteria and the pathogens even further, so it disinfects the water. Here's xenon in their plant, and I became very familiar with it because I use it in various configurations and different sizes. General Electric purchased the company, which had been around for about a good 20 years, and they have come out with various modules. And I've been recommending to them to go smaller and smaller, because if you could get a module that's big enough for 40 homes, you could certainly get a module that could be down to the size of a single home. These are all fully contained processing plants, fully computerized, no maintenance required or very little maintenance required. If something goes wrong, somebody's called in to come and adjust it or fix it, but it's all done remotely. So you don't need a big central plant. So these are the types of equipment that they developed at the time as a result of their success all around the world in various communities. And so here was the size that I was shooting for, which is a small unit that could be put around every house, and you could reprocess your water. It's still not there. There are gray water systems that are small enough now for a single home, but the quality of the water is still gray water. It's not tertiary treated, nor is it drinkable. These are things having to do with gray water. Part of the problem with septic systems, again, is they don't properly treat the waste simply because they can stall or lose their ability, lose their microbes over time because nobody manages them. They're required to be managed, but because they're buried in the ground, nobody checks it, or very few people do. So here's an example of a more sophisticated system of septic, which has some more important chemical involvement. And here's a gray water system that is similar, but they don't really do as good of a job as a mechanical system, which is obviously more expensive. So I put together a little study for this particular group of the Bay Area and how many treatment plants do we have and what do they do? And the issue here is that the process, when they originally built these plants, the process was to create a sludge and activate the waste and create bacteria, and then as secondary treatment, disinfect with chlorides, hypochlorites, and then dump it into the bay. So you're processing all this water and you're dumping it into the bay at the rate of about 90 to 98%. which is a huge waste when you think about it. What can we do about it? Well, we have sewage spills when these things overflow and there's nowhere for the water to go. If in a rainstorm, you'll see them overflowing in the streets. And so the idea is that here are the concentration of overflows. As you can see, the major urban areas have tremendous waste and tremendous pollution that comes out of it. But we don't talk about it. We don't deal with it. I feel that we need to not only deal with it, but make it a priority, because that water is a valuable capital, especially in places like the Valley, in places where that water is literally shipped out to LA and San Francisco. But recycling it would be extremely useful. And we're talking about millions and millions of dollars spent to build these sewer treatment plants, which then just dump the water into the ocean or the bay, thus polluting both, because the level of clarity of that water is not very high. So water recycling is important. So you can see that, for example, here in San Jose, they're planning recycling water. They're actually doing a better job than most, but the majority of these plants don't do enough, and it's expensive to convert that to recycling. One of the biggest issues is, what do you do with the water when you treat it, after you treat it? And the problem is you can't go back and build piping that will take it back upstream to the people who actually created the waste. So you have to do something else with it. And that's one of the biggest issues that we have right now. We're spending a lot of money on these sewer treatment plants, but we're not able to recycle the water because of the issue, the logistics. So what do? My proposal is that we create micro treatment plants in areas of the city, in the neighborhoods. So for example, if you live on a hilltop, you can have a local treatment plant that treats the water there and recycles it back into your community on a much smaller scale, much more efficient than actually trying to pump it downstream to a central plant and having it trucked back to you, because underground plumbing can't be put in effectively after the city has been already built. It's too late. The facilities create lagoons where they process this water, similar to what you saw earlier with the cow manure. You create lagoons, you capture the waste. Hopefully you have some good turnaround of that water and that solid into a product that can be then handled, that removes the pathogens, and you can actually recycle it for good purposes. It's still not happening fast enough for most cities because it is expensive and difficult to do. But there is hope. There is hope because with these microgrids, both microgrids for waste as well as microgrids for solar, we're creating local sources of solutions, or local solutions that can actually serve the community better. And what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about microgrids. And so if you look at these facilities, every day, 80 million gallons of water are treated. You have 1,000+ miles of pipes. And then every day, millions of gallons of treated waste are treated, but they're not reused. So we're losing all of that money in just waste. It's not fully recycled. I'll go quickly behind these because stormwater is a whole other issue. But if you look at what you have to do, it's mind-boggling. So I'm proposing that we go back to simpler systems, local systems that replace septic, but recycle the water locally. So if you're a farm and you have cattle, you recycle your wastewater locally, and using technology that is available in the market. It's a matter of investing wisely and then having resources that are close. So water waste recycling is as important as as energy recycling, because energy is critical for our survival. And having a local energy source, a microgrid locally on the farm, for example, where you generate the energy both from the gas, the methane gas, as well as from the sheds that you build to cover the cattle from sun and from inclement weather. Having those as microgrids, solar grids that collect energy and power the farm. So you don't need to pump the energy through transmission lines way from out of state and other places. You can create it all locally and serve your community locally. So the technology is here. It's been around for a long time. Our people are not up to speed yet as to what they could be doing or rethinking how they could be working. So our job really is to educate, is to motivate, it's to activate, and then litigate at the last resort, because people won't respond until they're forced to do it sometime. So we are in that mode where the state and the federal government have created rules and regulations that benefit everyone, but unless they're enforced, they won't do any good. And I think that based on what we've seen over the last 20, 30 years, enforcement is as important as legislation. And so we can do it. It has been done elsewhere. I think we are in the process of getting smarter about that, because literally we can't be swimming in our own sewage, and we can't be losing power because a utility company down the road has a fire or has a car that hits their structure, and suddenly the whole area has no power. So my last statement is microgrids for both energy and waste will help us tremendously. And that's it as far as, I hope you've seen something. By the way, I'm wearing this shirt for a reason. This is ISEF. ISEF is a collection of students from all over the world, high school students, who annually go to the most sophisticated International Science and Engineering Fair. And the reason I bring that up is the future is in our youth, in our high schools and colleges, and encouraging them to follow their dream, improve this planet, and stick with it, because they are the next generation, the next wave that can actually help save this planet from all the ways that we've continued to screw it up. I believe wholeheartedly. I've been a judge at these fairs for environmental studies and students, and I've seen their stories from all over the world show up once a year and present and be judged and win awards for their incredible research. So if you get a chance to look at ISEF online, you'll see the amazing things that they've discovered over the years. So that's it.
Thank you for joining me today, Ronaldo. It's a great example of how not only agricultural, but commercial and residential can have a lower footprint and help reuse a lot of their wastewater and energy. And one of our last sponsors is Fine Print Plus. They're here in Fresno. Mention that you saw them here on Food and Facilities, and you can receive 100 free direct mailer postcards with purchase, and 250 or more with 15% off with purchase. They are able to translate, so make sure to purchase and have your message be bilingual. Call them at 559-237-4747. Email them at graphics@fineprintplus.com, or visit them at fineprintplus.com/quote. They also have social distancing floor decals, so if you want to be able to let your customers and your employees know how to properly social distance, you can put them on any type of smooth flooring, concrete, tile, laminate, hardwood, low profile carpet, and they can help make sure that everybody is safe and healthy. Our other sponsor is Safe Food Alliance. They have a full 360-degree food safety service suite. They have in-person, online, and one-on-one training. They have the biggest food safety conference in California, in Monterey, Safe Food California, and they also have safe food certification, research, and laboratories. Make sure to reach out to them at safefoodalliance.com or visit their location in Kingsburg. So today we discussed dairy digester research with Western Institute for Food Safety and Security, and then we discussed facility energy from waste with Ronaldo Visaliza of FS3 Hodges. Thank you for joining us today. Make sure to subscribe at wcismag.com/subscribe for more content like you've seen today. Join us at our Safety in Food and Facilities Expo in September and save on your booth. And make sure to get free advertising in our July to September articles. And we have full, half, quarter, business page, and listing. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to meeting with you next month.